Hello out there in social media world. I wanted to just give a video highlighting three things. I'm here in my little office area. It's a little chilly in here, but wanted to make sure that I updated everyone the best I can. Number one, I want to answer a couple of questions that I have been receiving from various different platforms, and also want to do the plans are for what I plan to do with this page, Burden Ministry page, and on both Facebook and Instagram. And also this video is simply to say thank you. Thank you to so many for all the many years at Burden Ministries, for 15 years. Obviously, the Facebook page hasn't been around that long, but majority of the time it's been along, and many of you have rode with us and have prayed for us during all these transitions and things that we have been through with our family. Well, what I want to do, like I said, is answer a couple of questions. A lot of people have been so kind, and I know that there are many that probably might have questions, and I know it's not an obligation where I need to answer every question, but I decided I would like to. I really desire to be genuine and transparent during this entire time, and so if I can be able to then bring a little bit more clarity to something, I just want to be as clear as I possibly can. One question, start with number one. The one question I've been asked, I wrote them down, is how is your family? First off, I just want to say thank you for the prayers for our family, but our family's doing well. It's definitely been a difficult season. There's no two ways around it. This has been a hard year in many ways. This speaks to the testament of just how good, gracious the Lord is during our time of travel. But when I was driving home, I had just lost my job that morning, and there have been some tears already, but I decided I'm going to pick the girls up from school that day. And when I picked the girls up, what was interesting is I told them what happened, and as soon as this is their first response, I said, Jasmine, so let me tell you, they were really quiet. So what do you think? I said, well, Dad, I know the Lord will lead you, and I know that you do what it takes, so I believe we'll be all right. And then my other daughter says, Dad, wherever the Lord wants us to be. And it was just, just that moment inside, just saying, thank the Lord. My wife as well. It's been obviously the ups and downs and all around, but Lord's been gracious, and we're doing well in the midst of it. There's a lot of different things. We didn't decide to give the blow by blow of job offers falling through and health issues going on. Just know the Lord's been faithful, but it's been a difficult season, but I believe we've learned a lot, and we are continuing to learn through this entire situation. So that was number one. Number two question that many people were asking is, Adrian, I want to be gentle about it, but are you stopping ministry because you have been burned? Maybe they say something like, I know you have a podcast, and I haven't really listened to a lot of it, but I know that you kind of talk about certain things, and really, are you stepping out because you've been burned? Really, ministry is challenging no matter what it is, I'm not in the pastoral role, and I know that has its own set of different challenges that go with it, but it's challenging. I mean, when you sleep in 6 different beds in 6 different states in 1 week, I mean, come on. It definitely is something that is of a challenge to some degree. However, I'm not moving and making a ministry change because I feel I have been burned. I don't feel it's been a situation where all mankind has let me down. This is a sentiment that I know is a song, but it still rings very true. This world's not my home, bro. I'm just passing through. I am not going to get my heart anchored and set on anything that takes place here. I want to be Hebrew 11 style, keeping my eyes looking unto Jesus. And I'm not saying I've nailed it every time in my life, but I can say that definitely that this is not the motivation or the catalyst behind making this move. So that's number two. Number three on the list is, Adrian, I know this has been a good question, and I really want to bring clarity, and it's like, what about the call of God on your life? Adrian, you can't repent of the calling, God's placed a calling, and some people even say, and being very kind to say, Adrian, it's a very obvious calling that God has placed on your life. And that's a great point. And one thing that I don't want necessarily try and not create any arguments or trying to create any movements by giving my belief about this, but as far as the call of God, it just looks different in different seasons, right? Like when you look at Philip's life, there are some seasons where he was preaching in front of crowds, and then there is seasons where he was preaching to one. And I don't believe that I'm repenting of the calling of God on my life just because I'm taking a different direction during this season. Will I end up in itinerant ministry like this again in my life? I don't know. I don't think so looking at this purview, but I don't know. I'm just saying for right now that the call of having gospel influence and desiring to have that has not changed whatsoever. And so I do believe that this definitely still there. Now, some may ask the question of like, well, why'd you learn Spanish? Why about these all details? Now, those are good questions because I don't know. I have gone back and forth in my heart and mind and said, Lord, is this really is this the right way? Is that the right way? Like, basically, I've asked a lot of questions inside my own heart of like, why did we take these steps if this was going to be the end result? But, faithful, the Lord's faithful, and we're going to just keep on trusting his path. And maybe I never see it this side of heaven. Why? But I just know that we took the steps that were in front of us, and by God's grace, we're going to keep on taking those steps. The big one and the last one as far as questions are concerned, I don't want to make this eternally long, but is number 4 is, Adrian, why not just become a pastor or a church staff member? Let me just make sure I make it clear. I have prayed about the matter of being a pastor a lot. I have, and just this goes beyond before making this transition. I have prayed much about what that would look like. People say, well, you have this, you're able to speak, you're able to care for people and do these different things. And maybe insufficiency is where you're supposed to be, but I definitely feel that if I stepped into that role after praying about it considerably, that the church that I would be pastoring would be no more than an experiment, because it wouldn't be something that I believe the Lord has directly led me with that vigor and excitement to be able to get behind it. I know what that stirring in my heart is when the Lord was like, you're getting ready to go overseas and do overseas ministry. I know what that stirring is, and that stirring has not happened toward the pastoral role. Now you say maybe a church ministry role. Adrian, how come you just haven't applied? You'd be a great youth pastor, you're a great assistant pastor, or whatever it is. And this is the question that I really want to make sure I make clear as best I can is, for me personally, the role specifically that I look into would be so niche. When I go into different pastors' conferences, and it's happened since the very beginning of ministry for me, where I felt just a little bit like I'm not quite fitting in here. Like I'm kind of in here, but kind of not. Like there's just certain things that are just missing sometimes. And I do believe it's a little bit of that evangelist role that's just kind of like fluid to a lot of degrees. And so for me, the specificity, if that's even a word, of what I would be looking for or praying toward would be one where I can jump all in, but let my family have a normalcy context of life. And so that really cancels out a lot of different ministry opportunities. Like, you can't be a student pastor and give your family that normalcy context at this time. I believe for me, I'm definitely called in ministry. My wife believes strongly that she's called just to follow me wherever I go. And one of the things that I want to do is protect her autonomy and my kids' autonomy. And just during this next season, whatever it looks like, that she can be in one spot and just be a church member and serve there. And if I can use my gifts within the body, then I shall. And that's why the mission work and other works worked well for us, because of those reasons. Gives them a period of normalcy. So it's not just as simple as like, well, stepping out of evangelism, let me now just move into a certain spot. Because we prayed greatly about a great fit, especially given the last position we were in and being told you're not a good fit. We're praying much about what that would look like. So yeah, that's not just, oh, you're not an evangelist, so go be a pastor. It's not just works that way for us, for me particularly, and that's the best way that I can think to be able to explain it. Let me just say, those are questions. If you have more, I'm happy, man. Just hit me up like as best you can. I as I told years and years ago to a friend of mine, I'm as approachable as Aunt Jemima, man. I desire to be able to be transparent, genuine during this season. I know that everything's not for public consumption, but for what I can, I shall share. But let me just end this with plans about this page specifically. when I do speak out, and different things, I obviously will post those things on the pages that are here. Also, time to time, post about what the Lord is teaching me. The best way I can describe the page is the way I did the podcast. In the very beginning of 2020, when a lot of racial things were taking place, I've kind of used my personal Facebook page to be able to define what was going on in the world, right? Things that I was having, that I was burdened about. But I felt that it was better to kind of have an outlet for that. And I've used a burden for the times to be that outlet specifically, because it's not content for every person, and I get it, it's not. But it's for some people that desire to get a little bit deeper into the level 2 conversations about race and culture. So I had an outlet for that. And I believe that for this Burden Ministry, for this Adrian Burden page going forward, because I'm going to change the name to just be Adrian Burden. But when I change it, it's just really to have an outlet of the things that the Lord's teaching me. The outlet of preaching, the outlet of being able to use my gifts within the body. And for however long, it's not a thing of where I'm trying to garner a following and trying to become the next influencer of all time. It's just, just like the podcast that I mentioned years ago. I said, if no one listened, I still do it because I believe that's what the Lord wants me to do. And I believe this case here as well is, hey, they might be of help to somebody, and I believe this is what the Lord wants me to do. So for however long He wants me to do it, I'll keep the page and kind of transfer the names and everything inside of it. So hopefully that makes sense going forward. But once again, a hearty thank you to all of those. Just wanted to give a video of a little bit more clarity if I could. And by God's grace, as you pray with us and pray us through this transitional time, we rejoice in what the Lord will do. With all of my heart, we say, God bless you.